Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and the date today is Monday, October 21st, 2024. I've been doing a countdown of my favorite video games of all time through each day of the year, and coming in at number 72 is Fallout 3. As a reminder, the way I did these rankings was to use a head-to-head ranker and select left or right a few thousand times across many permutations of comparisons, and it puts things in order based on those answers. Fallout 3's ranking was one of the biggest surprises for me on the list because I had barely played it. Generally speaking, I didn't put things I didn't really play but knew a lot about on here because I was worried my hands-on experience wouldn't be enough to properly talk about it. That being said, despite the fact that we only owned this game for, I don't know, a couple weeks, and I pretty much played like 8 hours of it despite being such an expansive game, Fallout 3 really resonated with me, and the internet has shown me every possible thing in every possible part of this game. So, I was kinda there for it, I guess, just not with a controller in my hand. Basically, I played enough to be familiar with all of the game's systems, so I had hands-on experience with what the things did, and then learned all of the fun, stupid stuff you can get up to, and oh wow, is there a lot of fun, stupid stuff. The game was made by Bethesda Game Studios, famous for the Elder Scrolls games, and notably, not the developers of the previous Fallout titles. They remade this whole franchise from the ground up, and what a great job they did! Like in previous Fallout games, the setting is in a post-apocalyptic world, the nuclear holocaust has happened, and the world is a radiated wasteland of nightmares and monsters. Oh, and the wildlife can be pretty scary too. However, there's societies that have secluded themselves into these massive underground bunkers in preparation for this, called vaults. In this game, you start off in Vault 101 as a small child and go through different stages of adolescence to young adulthood. This way of crafting your character is actually one of the great strengths of the game, showcasing how your natural interactions with the world could have far-reaching consequences. On your 10th birthday party, you're given a Pip-Boy, which is an incredibly important device that's basically a giant, oversized smartwatch before those really took off, and it does everything. More on that in a bit. At this party, you learn that your character is not exactly a popular kid and gets bullied. Your decisions through all of these important childhood milestones influence character traits and stats you'll have when you're done in the vault, so choose wisely. Or not, if, that's what you're about. Fast forward a bit, and you're taking basically a career aptitude test in high school, and again, this is about influencing the kind of person you are. There's a lot of interesting things that have happened, and I don't remember if this is because of my decisions at the 10th birthday party or what, but nobody, including the person that used to be my best friend, likes me. Anyways, do your best on the test, and the game assigns you some bonus skills, but you can manually change them if you want that. I had always heard that a high speech value is a pretty unique way to play the game, so rather than going guns blazing all the time, I leaned into those. Spoiler for later, it pays off. Finally, fast forward some more, and your dad's missing, and his best friend had been assassinated. Your dad, James, was a scientist down in the vault, and critically, the doctor. But there was something that he and Jonah got into that was way above their pay grade, and they couldn't ignore it. So your childhood best friend, whose dad is basically the leader of the vault and gone a little power crazy, by the way, she still hates you, gives you the heads up that the security is coming for you and helps you make a break for it. Unfortunately for me, I had to defend myself from her dad. And, well, there wasn't really any chance of saving that friendship anymore. But now, we're free! Breaking out of the vault, we learned that the above world is actually a little more inhabitable than we had been led to believe, but certainly not without its trials. The first real city you head to is Megaton, named such for one teensy little trivial, not that dangerous, I mean, let's not blow it out of proportion, problem. It's built around an active nuclear warhead.
I don't trust any of the local.
The sheriff there is eager to get it disarmed, and I agreed to help him. And then I immediately got him killed, so that's fun. There's a whole lot of optional things about this game, and that's really the great draw to it. Pretty much every scenario you're put into has more than one way of going about it. Using the bomb as an example, the reason the sheriff died was some seedy fella asked me to essentially sabotage the bomb, and I wasn't about that. I ran and tattled and got the sheriff shot. I could have just kept my mouth shut, and that would have been fine. Alternatively, I could get the proper parts and rig the bomb to explode, deleting the town. There's cascading effects to all of this, from other quest chains to differing avenues for resources. Interestingly, there's also a religion that's formed around the bomb in the town called the Church of Adam. While it's certifiably crazy to worship the force that nearly wiped out all life on the planet, they do have a certain sense to them, viewing it essentially as the creation of a new world. They're wacky. They're weird. They're far from the weirdest people you're going to meet. Defusing the bomb itself is rather simple, provided you have a high enough explosive score. There's a great many different skills you can put points into every time you level up, and they allow all sorts of stuff. In addition to the more specific skills, you also have core stats like strength and intelligence, which give pure modifications to your abilities, but also sometimes provide additional dialogue and other options. More importantly, when you level up, you gain a perk that modifies other parts of how the game plays, from additional stat bonuses to further increased dialogue options, and these core stats are part of the prerequisites for unlocking those. I already mentioned I wanted to do a speech-oriented game, so I dumped a lot of points into that, but you might notice another stat that has points. So, when creating my character, I saw this haircut, and it was just like, oh, that's Guile from Street Fighter. So I'm a smooth-talking brawler that doesn't take no shit. Combat in Fallout 3 is really great. It's what drew me to it in the first place, and earned much of this game's ranking. For being predominantly a first or third person shooter, you can choose, it's very slow, and by that I mean very strategic, which is great. If you want to just shoot at stuff, you can, but you might have a rough time of it. There's a system in place called VATS, which means Vault Tech Assisted Targeting System, and basically this pauses time and allows you to allocate several shots, even at specific body parts or different people, causing loss of function in an arm, for example, if you shoot that arm enough and cripple it, or, their head. The shooting is a lot of fun, even though I didn't do much of it in this game, because again, I was wearing brass knuckles and punching people out. The combat systems are excellent, but it doesn't stop there. There's a lot of really creative and interesting weapons you can get access to, including miniature nukes for yourself, but one of my favorites is a rocket launcher that doesn't necessarily shoot rockets. It shoots trash. Remember that scene in Pirates of the Caribbean when they run out of cannonballs and start loading silverware into the cannons? It's exactly like that. And it's hilariously fun. You get that gun from crafting it, and there's a lot of fun stuff to craft in this game. Also encouraging you to hoard everything you find like a dragon. You just never know when you're going to need that leaf blower. So what's the actual story here? I already talked about your time in the vault, but that's only the very beginning. You go searching for your dad, get sent on a wild goose hunt, or at least what appears to be one, learn more about him and his exploits. You see, it turns out that you were not born in the vault as you thought, and neither was your father. He was a surface dweller and brought you down there after your mother died during childbirth to keep you safe. I'm not going to go over all the story here, in large part because I haven't played most of it, though I have read up on all of it. Basically, your dad was a scientist working on a giant project to purify all of the irradiated water in the Potomac River in order to totally change the forsaken way of life in the area surrounding DC. Oh, yeah, the game is set in the ruins of Washington, D.C., and you can still see old monuments in the wreckage, and it's actually amazing level design. It's done very well. Long story short here, he's returning to the project, but the people in power would like to stay in power, so they're trying to stop the whole thing and sabotage it to kill everybody. You have a lot of influence in that, and it could go either way, and then there's some fallout from that. It's a good story. I should actually finish it sometime. But the thing that really stuck with me, both in my limited playtime back in the day, countless hours of content consumed since then, and also coming back to the game now, is all of the non-story stuff. You know the bomb in Megaton, the amazing world building, the side mission where I have to dig through a landmine, bobbleheads? I love the bobbleheads. There are items you can find to increase stats and collect them to store in your house, and they're tiny and cute, and they shouldn't really be that good looking, but they're great. The game has a lot of comparisons to the Elder Scrolls games, and I think it's better than most of those, not because of the combat, though that is cool, not because of the story, though that's good too, but because of the kooky, off-the-wall stuff. The radiation poisoning, addiction to different medications or other drugs, sprouting additional limbs, giant monster mutants, and the goddamn radio. The tonal dichotomy between hearing Ella Fitzgerald while I punch the life out of some poor bandit is just perfect, and emphasizes all of the weirdness of these games just flawlessly. And I even did get to see more of that with my speech run with this game so far. So the guy that hosts the main radio station that I listen to, Three Dog, he's very kooky, very funny. I like him a lot. He wanted me to essentially do a bunch of work for him in order to tell me where my dad went. But with the speech option, you could just go, but what if I didn't? And it worked. Join me tomorrow as I talk about my 71st favorite game, where I am the best at killing demons.